Fit like again, folks. Welcome back to the podcast. This week we're going to be chatting with Dave Perry from Wheelie Good TV. But first, as usual, a quick shout out for the sponsors. As usual, we're sponsored by Enov. Now, Enov do motorcycle dash cams. They've got single systems like the C5. I've got a video on that one from a few years ago. And they also do dual camera systems, the K series. Original was a K2. I did a review on that. Then they've now moved to the K3 and now the flagship K5, which is the one I'm running on my bike at the moment. K5 is a 4K camera at the front, 1080 at the rear. The K3 is 1080 all round. Both the K3 and K5 have got external remotes. They've got Wi-Fi, so you can integrate them with an app. They have GPS trackers, awesome bits of kit, folk, totally fit and forget. As soon as you switch the engine on, they start recording and you're totally covered. I know from past experience, sadly, if you're involved in an accident, first thing that's asked is, do you have CCTV? And if you have one of these fitted, you can turn around and say yes. Obviously, that may not be in your favour. However, generally it is. Head to innovv.co.uk/TP1 for some more information. When you deal with them, don't forget to tell them Teapot sent you. We're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, I've got a bit of blurb to read out here. Ultimate Add-ons are the premium manufacturer of mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions for motorcycles. With a kit for any bike and a proven track record of creating products to keep your devices safe, secure, and easily accessible, the Ultimate Add-ons product range is ideal for any rider from the commuter to the round-the-world adventurer. Why shell out on an expensive GPS system when you could use your smartphone, keeping it charged and within reach to take photos of your travels at the same time. Ultimate Add-ons waterproof, shockproof and dustproof tough cases are available for all flagship smartphone models and are designed by riders for riders. Find out why Ride Magazine gives Ultimate Add-ons their coveted Best Buy certification. Keep riding this winter with Ultimate Add-ons. It's all about the journey. Now, folks, I use the case for my phone. I've got the iPhone 11 Pro. They do all different types of phones, plus a generic case for them. Once you've got the actual case for your specific phone, you also have to get some sort of mounting solution. Now, the only one I can vouch for is the one I use all the time. That's the Helix strap mount. You'll find that in the pedal cycle section, but for me it's the best one for the motorbike as well. There's loads of give in it. It's not a rigid sort of mounting solution. I've had zero issues with the camera when I use this. That is the one I recommend. Head to ultimateaddons.com and don't forget to use code TeapotOne with the number 10, TeapotOne10 for 10% off. We are also sponsored by the Influencer Store. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop them an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information, and don't forget to tell them Teapot sent you. Folks, if you head to my store for any of the merch at TeapotOne.com, all of the merch there is handled by the Influencer Store. I went with them because they're British, because they do really good quality stuff, and the customer care is spot on. I used to use Spreadshirt, Teespring, all these sorts of places, but to be honest with you, the quality of items was rubbish. This one, much better. Head to the Influencer Store. Lastly, a massive shout out to all of you folks who've been listening to the podcast, sharing it, telling everyone about it, watching the vids over on the YouTube channel. A huge thank you to you. That is a massive support to me here. I couldn't be doing this without you. And those of you over in the clan who've gone that extra mile on Patreon, literally, I could not do this without all of your support. So a huge thanks from me. All right, folks, let us crack on with this week's podcast with Wheelie Good TV.
Dave, I've started recording straight away, but we can start this whenever you want, mate. I mean, we've had a quick chat on yours anyway. Do you want to chat about a few things before we go, or are you happy just to crack on?
Happy to go straight into it. Good to see you. For a moment this afternoon, I thought to myself, God, is this live? And then I realised it's not, obviously. So no, so that's even better. The reason I ask, actually, Bruce, is because I've been living in Ireland so many years now. Occasionally in conversation, I might drop the odd feck in. So
don't worry about that. That's quite
so
all right.
that's why I was wondering if it was all right. And then I realised, no, I think it's a pre-record, so we're good. We're good.
It is, mate.
Am I looking in the right place? Am I looking in the right place here, Bruce? Tell you why, I'm doing this on my phone for the first time. I normally use the laptop, but the laptop I've got is antiquated. The camera on it is absolutely shite. And see what I mean about the swearing? And at this time of year, when it's dark and no ambient light and everything, I'm literally a fuzz on the old Zoom calls. So anyway, it's good. You can see me, I can see you, and you can hear me. Nothing can go wrong.
Well, we'll test that one. Let's crack on. Folks, welcome back to this episode of Brew Time. And we have Dave Perry, otherwise known as Wheelie Good TV. How are you, man?
I couldn't be better. I have to say, sorry, I'm jumping in already. I should wait for you to ask me my first question.
No, feel free, mate. This is just a conversation. It's not an interview. It's just a conversation. So,
brilliant. Well, I'm a fan of these podcasts, especially when I'm on a long drive in the car. You see, and my wife knows that I listen to a lot of them. I told her last week when you'd been in touch with me, I said, Bruce, TeapotOne, I said, he's been in touch, wants me to be a guest on the old podcast. And she said, Jesus, he must be running out of them.
You can always rely on your loved ones to give you that extra bit of support, can't you?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm just going to put the do not disturb thing on my computer, otherwise it'll be ding-donging all the way through. Right,
Very
Dave,
good.
so obviously you've listened to these before, you know the format. I check out my socials, I ask people to leave some questions, and we generally have a chit-chat and work our way through them and just see where the conversation takes us.
Let's do it.
Right. Well, being a fellow Celt, I'm sure you come suitably lubricated for the evening's entertainment.
Well, I have, but there's a twist with mine. So obviously living in Ireland, it's a state drink, Guinness. Yep. But this is the one with the twist. This is the new one, the 0% alcohol.
Wow. Never seen that.
Honest, Bruce, it's unbelievable. The reason I'm drinking this tonight is because I'm going out later to get the Indian takeaway. So you can,
no worries.
You can do that with this, obviously. And so many other people have said this, that it sounds like I'm sponsored by Guinness here, I've just realised. But it's the closest to a fully alcoholic drink, the non-alcoholic version that I've ever tasted.
I'll have to try that and go.
It's absolutely amazing. You will not know the difference between a real pint of this or a real can of this and a 0% alcohol one. It's unbelievable. And I drink a lot of low alcohol.
I drink a lot,
No, I should have just left it there after I said I drink a lot. No, I drink a lot of low alcohol stuff because of where I live in the middle of nowhere and because I'm always on the road and whatever else, So, and you know yourself, it never tastes like the real version, does it? But this Guinness stuff, honestly, in fact, if anybody else is watching that, it's amazing. I've stocked up on that actually over Christmas. I've 4 kids, so I'm always on the road, as is my wife. We are, taxi drivers in our spare time with 4 kids. You know how it is. So this is honestly a lifesaver because it feels as I'm still able to have a drink, but 0%.
Right.
Cheers.
Slange.
Great to see you. Sláinte.
Right. Okay then, mate. I reckon there are loads of questions, but I reckon we just have a chat first, and because you seem to have led a very interesting life. Can I just pass it over to you initially, just to say, what's your name, where'd you come from, what you do?
Yeah, sure. You might not think I've had an interesting life at the end of this chat. So, well, my name is Dave Perry, Wheelie Good TV, over and out. That's my little catchphrase. As anybody tuning in who knows me will know that. I don't even know where I got that or where that came from. The over and out thing. What? I was into CB radios when I was a kid, and I think it comes from that. Right. Dave Perry, Geordie, born and bred. In case you're wondering. I've got a weird mashup of an accent going on. Lived in Ireland for the last 18 years. In fact, the first time I came to Ireland, before I digress, this is the thing, I go off on tangents and then come back to your original question. So before I digress, I'm a television cameraman, worked with the BBC in England, and I work with RTE and a load of other people here now in Ireland. So I've always been freelance. So I think you said on one of your social media posts, I was a BBC cameraman for 35 years. I was technically, but I've always worked on a freelance basis. So
Gotcha.
with BBC, they renewed my contract every 3 years. And then they offered me a staff job, actually. At the same time that I met my Irish wife, I met her at a Christmas party, BBC Christmas party over in England. And at the same time, the BBC were offering me the staff job and everything. I didn't really want to take that. I loved variety. I had a few other ideas up my sleeve at the time. And I didn't particularly like the path I was going down with the BBC. I didn't particularly enjoy the route I was taking there. So I needed a break. The Irish woman came on the scene as well. And I just thought, wow, this is unbelievable. Just when you think you're at a crossroads, and then something came along and off I went. But so back to the accent. I told you I would digress. So back to the accent.
I'm going to have to make notes here.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I came over to Ireland to meet the in-laws. I'll come back to that later on because that was a scary story. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she had the flu, you see, and so she was staying in bed for a couple of days over. We were staying with our parents, you see. And I thought, well, sod this. I'm in Dublin for the first time. I'm going out to see what the Guinness is like. I'd heard all about the Guinness in Dublin. And I went into Temple Bar, famous tourist area, of course, in Dublin.
Know it well.
Got a pint of, absolutely. So I had my first pint of real Guinness in Ireland being poured for me. And I'm chatting away to the barman and he's staring at me. And I'm chatting away and I'm thinking, this guy's really hostile. What I didn't realize is that my Geordie accent was so broad at the time that nobody in Ireland could understand me. And he finished pouring the pint. And he put it on the counter and he looked up at me and he said, "Where the fuck are you from?" So when I told him I was a Geordie and from Newcastle, blah, 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 I said, "Oh my God," he says, "I've heard all about you guys." He said, this is no word of lie. He said, "I finished my shift in 10 minutes. He said, "Are you going to have a few pints?" We went off on the piss together the whole afternoon. The bartender from the first pub I went into. Yeah, absolutely amazing. It was brilliant, brilliant fun. Whilst my wife, our girlfriend then, was lying in bed with the flu. And that's one of the... And again, we'll come on to this later, I'm sure, but that's one of the reasons I went home to Mrs. Perry, as I'll refer to her as, and say, "Oh my God, I love Ireland, the people, everything." In fact, of all of the places I go to, one of the things which appeals to me most is the people. But anyway, so that's the long version of who am I, where am I from, and whatever it was he asked about.
Right, I'm going to have to keep reins on you, Dave. I can see. It's all right. No worries. So
it's the alcohol.
We only just started. That's non-alcoholic as well. Right, so let's go back. What got you into being a cameraman? I mean, how did that come about?
Yeah, this is a bit of an easy one. My dad was a press photographer. So I grew up all of my life. My dad was a press photographer for the Sun newspaper in England. Right. So I grew up all of my life, under that sort of cloud of whenever the phone rang in our house as kids, I was bitten by the bug, because if it rang sort of after 9 o'clock at night, we knew it was a big, important story for my dad to go off on and everything, And I love that whole buzz of the not knowing, I suppose, watching me dad going off to different big stories and everything. In fact, not so nice, but I remember the evening of the Lockerbie disaster, the Pan Am jumbo jet, which was blown up over, and my dad got the call about that at 9 o'clock at night, way before pagers and, mobile phones and whatever. And because we lived in the northeast of England, obviously Lockerbie happened on the other side of the country. So my dad had to keep stopping at pubs to make phone calls to the news desk in London. And by the time he got over to Lockerbie, well, he was first told, early reports were it was a Cessna, which had crashed into a petrol station. All right, bad enough. By the time he hit Lockerbie, obviously, no need to mention the devastation which unfolded then. And it was that, I think it was that really, the Lockerbie thing happening to me dad was, because we lost dad over Christmas. It happened, obviously, 2 weeks before Christmas, from what I remember. My dad was gone for a month. We lost dad. But we knew dad was coming home after finishing photographing that news story, His photographs went all over the place, obviously. Massive news story. And I think it was that moment which defined, which defined what my buzz was watching my dad going off on assignments. I thought, my God, to be able to inform the world through pictures or through some sort of medium, what's happening with the news. I think it was that which made me think, I'm going to do that. And I went about chasing that. But my first job, I don't know, what year did Lockerbie happen? Was it 1989 or something?
I'm thinking I was still at primary school, like 87, 86, something like that.
That might fit even better, because my first job around the same time as that, I was working in a clothes shop in what was then called the Metro Centre. I think it's still called the Metro Centre in the northeast of England, Gateshead. And my job, I know I'd only just left school, but my job was to stand at the front door and smile at the customers. Now, I'd already had it in my head, as I've just explained, what I wanted to do. And Margaret Thatcher was in the shopping centre that day, officially opening the Metro Centre, which was then Europe's largest shopping centre. And I was stood at the front door smiling at the fucking customers, thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Is this what the rest of my life's going to be? You know? And Margaret Thatcher walked past the front door, and she was flanked by camera crews and boom microphones and everything. And I was watching the cameramen, the television cameramen. Now, I always thought I might go into photography like my dad. But when I saw the television cameramen, I just thought, all right, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And no word of a lie, I packed in my notice in the shop that afternoon, and I set about becoming a television cameraman. And less than a year later, I was a trainee cameraman within a video production company. The amount of things which happened then, which led me down that path, chance things, which like all the planets aligned basically, which led me down that path. And the people I met and the people I helped. So I'm thinking I must have been around 18 at the time. So I was a trainee cameraman for this video production company. Stayed there a year. I obviously had some sort of talent or gift, because then the local BBC, which was a brand new regional station just being built, they started hiring me from the video production company. And then it wasn't long, that was going on for another year or so. And then the local BBC said to me, listen, it would be more beneficial for us if we paid you directly and you came to work for us on a full-time basis, on a freelance contract. But we'll renew your contract every 3 years. And, if you leave the production company rather than us having to book you through them and whatever else. Now, trying to think exactly what age I was then, 20 years old, I think. That to me then was like winning the lottery. And I never forget, they gave me a contract, a 3-year contract, and I had to go to the bank then and buy the camera equipment, which I'll never forget it. It was £60,000 sterling.
Good God, back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, back then, £60,000 sterling. Back then. And I didn't even have my own house. I barely had my own car. And I walked into the bank looking for a loan of 60 grand, and of course I got laughed at. And then I showed them the contract. The money was in my account a week later. Unreal. So that's how it happened.
Man.
Yeah, I know. But the price of camera equipment now, I'm sure we'll come on to something like that later on. But oh no, I'm changing camera formats again for a big job I have coming up next year. And it's just
so you're still doing it? You're still doing the freelance stuff now?
Oh, very much. Yeah. No, I'm absolutely bread and butter. Still very much a television cameraman. It's in me blood. It's in me makeup. It's in me genes. So no, I love doing what I do. So
it's weird what you said earlier there about how the stars aligned. When you decided that's what you were going to do. I found that when you set your mind on something and you know in the deepest part of your soul that is what you're meant to be doing, things just, as long as you keep going, and you're going to get adversity, there's going to be roadblocks along the way, but as long as you just keep going and figuring out your path, it happens, doesn't it? People come into your life that open doors, opportunities present themselves. It's just it's weird in life how these things happen.
I've been fascinated by this, Bruce, all my life as to why things work out. Now, not everything works out, but the things that I really want to happen and the dreams that I really chase, touch wood, so far have worked out. But only up until about 10 years ago did I start hearing of something called mindfulness and the power of now. Now, I don't want to get too deep too quick, but when books started coming out on mindfulness and the power of now and all of this sort of stuff, and I had a slight interest in sort of that sort of crack because I'd heard about it. And when I read a couple of books about it, actually, that's exactly what's been happening to me all my life. When I really want something, like there's cars, there's motorbikes I've really wanted, cars that I've really wanted through my life. And I've done everything to make that happen. The same with a woman, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous how it works out, but it all comes down to that mindfulness and the power of now. So
it is. If you have a positive frame of mind, then as we just touched on there, you make use of all the opportunities that present yourself. And if you're not in a positive frame of mind, I think maybe sometimes you maybe don't recognize those opportunities when they present themselves, or you just give up, you know, whereas when you've got that positive frame of mind and you're driving, you just keep going and it will happen, won't it? It's just, I'm not going to say that whatever you set your mind on will happen, because it's got to be, it's got to be attainable. It's got to be realistic for you. You know, not saying, you know, you want to go to the moon, then by all means, you go for it. You set yourself on it. And if you're right for that position, you'll make it. You will do it. Just keep going, and you'll make it. But, you know, you've got to be realistic about things, haven't you?
No, you're dead right. But like, percentage-wise, more works out than doesn't work out. Absolutely. You know, for myself, if you do set your goals. Like, I mean, for instance, my YouTube channel, you know, I'm 51 years old. Last year when I started it, at 50 years old, I thought, Jesus, this is, what am I doing this for? You know, especially after being behind the camera for 35 years or whatever it's been, you know, why the hell am I doing this? And it's just something I fancied doing for years and years. You know, I've always been known as a bit of a showman anyway, you know, and I love getting up and doing a bit of singing and all that crack. So come on to that later as well. But when I started the YouTube channel last year, I thought to myself, right, if I'm going to do it, I've got to give it the best shot, the best crack. Now, whilst I might not know enough about motorcycles like everybody else, I'm learning, and I know all about the bikes that I want to know about. I've been into bikes all my life. Again, another thing. I keep saying I'll come back to it later. I should just stick with one subject rather than dancing around.
It's going to be a 9-hour podcast at this rate, isn't it?
I know, but when I started the YouTube channel last year, well, I suppose it's a good mantra for anybody. Like, if you're going to do something, try and do it right or to the best of your ability.
Absolutely, be you.
So I'm really surprised at how well the YouTube channel is going. And can I say at this stage, actually, early in our interview here, Bruce, I love this community. It's just phenomenal. And without blowing smoke as well, I mean, I would consider yourself and Richie and Andy at the top of the tree, the top of your game, doing what you're doing with the motovlog and on the, on the YouTube platform. And unlike my business, the television production side of things, people have got a little bit protective, I've noticed over the last certainly 10 years, because budgets have become tighter. People are buying equipment, are going out fighting for the same jobs, and everybody's a little bit of there's a little bit of protection, going on, where people might not have helped as much as they would have, 10, 20 years ago. Yeah. And one thing which really surprised me about the whole YouTube thing is that you three guys, first of all, all jumped on the bandwagon. Andy was messaging me saying, love your channel and, whatever else. And I know we spoke last year. Andy was asking all about why does your pictures look so good? Why is your production levels so high, basically? Yeah. So that's, and I couldn't believe this because I was already tuning into you guys with all these hundreds of thousands of followers and whatever else. And I just find it really refreshing. So thanks first of all for that.
That's huge thanks for that. I think on YouTube sorry to interrupt. I think with YouTube, because it doesn't cost anybody any money to watch your stuff. You know, as a viewer, you don't pay to watch a video. So yeah, the sort of the mind frame I've got towards it, and I know Andy and Rich and Lamb Chops, everyone I know is the same certainly in the motorcycle world. That you know, we've been at this 10 years or so, and you learn stuff as you go. So it's what's the point of seeing someone whose content you look at and you think that's good content, but you know they need a few tips as to what I've learned over the last 10 years. Why let them go through 10 years of lessons? Just there you go. This is what I've learned. Crack on. Just go for it. It doesn't harm us in any way. I think maybe it's beginning to now, because it's becoming. I think the PR companies and the manufacturers, they're definitely switching on to YouTube in particular, Instagram, TikTok, not so much yet, but they're definitely switching on to that. So you're starting to see there's various different niches developing within, you know, the influencer sort of market, for sure.
I've definitely seen that shift without a doubt. In fact, I've just come back from the motorcycle live show. I got back last night. You were over there last week, I think, weren't you?
That's right. Weekend.
And I noticed that that whole shift towards people vlogging. You know, and I was asked a few times when I was on stands, you know, doing the old piece to camera. I've got a small video just coming out about my 5 favorite bikes from the show. That'll be out within the next day or two. But when I was doing the old bits, stood on the stand and doing the bits, like all the people who were working on the stands were coming up and asking what the name of my channel was and everything. And I just thought, wow, that's unbelievable. You know, you would never have seen that. Somebody stood with a phone even 5 years ago. You'd think, amateur, leave him at it. He's taking a few holiday snaps, but now it's serious business.
Definitely. I mean, I would say probably up until the last year before COVID, really. So probably 2019, I think, was the first time at the shows where you were even taken seriously if you were wandering around with a camera and you weren't like a proper film crew. Before that, you know, I'd been doing it for years before that, and literally folk would laugh in your face. People would just, manufacturers, people on stands would just laugh in your face. That's just the way it was. But now everyone's doing it.
No, and I totally see that. Actually, my eldest son came with me. He's 19 years old. And I brought him with me just so it would look a little bit more professional on the stands. And even though I was shooting everything on the iPhone, I've just upgraded to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And if you want, we can talk about the camera within that phone. It's just unbelievable, because that's the way I see technology going, away from the big television cameras that I use. I mean, to be able to go to a show and record everything on your phone,
it's crazy, isn't
phenomenal. It's unbelievable. But I built a rig for it, so I had the proper handheld stabilizing rig for the phone and everything, radio mic system going into it, the whole thing. And then So unfortunately, we ended up, when my son ended up having a few too many beers the night beforehand in the hotel we were staying, we ended up in a casino until 3 a.m. This was his first big night away to any sort of show with his dad, right? So we ended up in the casino until 3 a.m, and he spent most of the day at the bike show yesterday puking up. So there I was, by myself with my iPhone in my hand, looking like exactly what I didn't want to look like.
So I know that casino well. We ended up in the sports bar next to it till about 2 o'clock in the morning when on the Saturday night I was up there with the motorbike TV lot. God,
right? Yes. Brilliant.
Sunday was quite
hazy.
Yeah, and I had to endure Sunday.
Boys will be boys.
Exactly. Yeah. Dave, I'm very conscious that we've got a lot of questions here, and I know we'll go off on various tangents as we go through the questions. So how about we crack on, because otherwise we'll be...
Are these actual questions? Are these questions from people actually writing in?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought they'd been on.
Totally daft.
I thought you were going to say, so there's actually no questions, Dave. Sorry about that, but great to chat to you. And I'm off to get the takeaway curry.
Yeah. No, mate, there's always questions. Literally, the questions are the backbone of these podcasts. You know, without that, I think I'd probably dry up very quickly. But right, let's go the first ones, which is over on my clan and patrons, patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, Harley. How's it, guys? What talent would you show off in a talent show?
Oh, I'm a singer.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely. Listen, I'll get up on a sixpence. I'll get up at the
Are
drop
you
of
a singer, or do you just think you're a singer?
Well, this is the thing. I've sort of lost the voice over the last few years. That's my excuse anyway. But I actually, not too long ago, when was it, 2010, I auditioned for the X Factor.
Wow, did you?
Yeah. So I've sang all my life. I've been in club bands in the northeast of England. And I've been singing since I was, 13, 14, in bands constantly, all the way through my teens and up through my 20s. The problem was I could never stick in a band long enough because I was always away filming on assignment. And I always say the last band which I packed in for health and safety reasons because we were so shite. I was sick of getting beaten up. So,
what's your song then? What is your song when you've got to go up and sing?
Mustang Sally.
Oh, beautiful.
Mustang Sally. That is my song. And everybody who knows me on the film crew, wherever we are in the world, I've sang it in some incredible places. And actually, a lot of the crew that I work with now, they know that they have to get up, especially the female members of the crew. They have to get up and do the dancing and the ride, Sally ride, the back and vocal. So we have it perfected. I even sang it on my wedding day to my wife with Brilliant. The band and had everybody doing the ride, Sally ride. I love that crack. So yeah, I possibly think, well, I definitely think I've still got it. But I don't. But back then, 10 years ago, honest to God, no fear. I love it. And I'd still get up and sing anyway. So.
Go on then. You said you've done it all over the place. What would you say is the most obscure place you've sung then around the world?
It's easy. I was filming in Halong Bay, Vietnam. And we were filming on a boat overnight. So we were staying on the boat in Halong Bay. There was a load of beer going around, and at 2:00 in the morning on Halong Bay, moonlit as well, I was on the top deck of the boat we were filming on for the night with all of my crew and all of the people who were filming. Basically, I do this holiday show where we take 12 people away every year to a different place. A bit like a loose copy of sort of Coach Trip or something like that. You know, you take 12 people away with a fabulous presenter we have here in Ireland, Francis Brennan. And then we basically just film what unfolds when we're away. But we're in Vietnam for 3 weeks or something like that. And there I was. It was an incredible moment. I couldn't believe that I was singing Mustang Sally in Halong Bay at 2:00 in the morning with the whole boat accompanying me. I honestly felt this is it. It doesn't get better than this.
That sounds mega, man.
No, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Yeah, so
awesome.
I love that.
Awesome. Right, next one, Mark Fulcher. Help me, Ducks. So a couple of questions for you both. After attending the motorcycle live show at the NEC this year, I'm feeling pretty underwhelmed by it all. I just wondered what your thoughts were.
Can I go first?
Go on. How did you feel?
I was waiting for you to ask me. I thought actually, as I mentioned before, that I'd just come back from Motorcycle Live. You were going to ask me. Yeah. Was that chap called Mark?
Mark Fulcher.
Yeah. I absolutely echo his feelings and thoughts. I came away from that. Now, the flip side of that, of course, is that I felt great coming away from there because there was nothing which blew me away, nothing which set my world alight. I didn't fly back last night to Ireland thinking, oh my God, I've got to have one of those bikes. Now, we all know that feeling. That's the reason there's a marketplace for motorbikes. We all try and get that bike we really want. I'm fortunate enough to have that bike at the moment, the Aprilia RS 660 in the colour that I have. But when I saw that bike for the first time, I'll never forget it. Like what we were talking about earlier, I just thought I have to move everything in my life. I have to shift everything to get that bike.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, I was fully expecting to come back on the plane last night from the bike show, thinking that about something, and I didn't. I just think, and again, throwing back to what we were talking about before as well, Yamaha went there, as you're aware.
I know.
And
I couldn't understand that.
I just think there's a big shift now with the internet, and I can't really see the point of a bike show if you can't ride the bikes. I mean, when you can ride a bike in your own country and go and test ride a bike and then go to the dealerships and then use the internet for all your research, it wouldn't surprise me if bike shows in the future become much more smaller scale, shall we say. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the show is smaller than it. Every year it seems to get a little bit smaller. For as long as I can remember going, and I've probably been going to the NEC since about 2010, I think I started going. Every year I've gone, everyone I've met has said, "Oh, it's not as good as last year. It's not as good as last year." And it's, whereas this year I thought, bearing in mind what we've just gone through over the last year and a bit with COVID, it was a massive gamble for the organisers. Massive gamble. Because, as you know, these things cost money. They cost money to organise, and they cost a lot of money for for everybody that chose to have a stand there. You're talking, I think something like $5,000 minimum just for, or was it $2,000 or something? You're in the thousands anyway, even for a pokey little small stall. So there is a big financial gamble for everybody involved. And I think I was surprised Yamaha weren't there, considering they've pretty much cleaned up in the bike motorsport world this year. I thought they would be there, at least with their winning range of bikes for you to see. Yeah. But they had nothing. Aprilia weren't there, were they?
No.
Yeah, it just seemed, I'm not sure. I mean, I just thought they would, as they'd made that gamble to go ahead with it, I thought there would be more of an impact. There would be a bit more of a big show going on than there was. You're saying about bikes. There was one bike that grabbed me for sure when I saw it in the flesh, and that's the new Norton V4 Cafe Racer.
Stunning, absolutely
Loved
beautiful.
It. Yeah, I'll never buy one, never be able to afford one, but I looked at it and just thought, oh, yeah.
What sort of price is that coming in at, Bruce?
I've seen somewhere, and this is nothing official. This is purely like whispers, so it could be utter bollocks. But I've heard something like $38,000.
What?
But I don't know if that could be bollocks. That could be utter bollocks. But I've heard that whispered. So don't quote me on it. But it's not going to be cheap. It's Norton, and it's the very top of the range Norton. So
absolutely,
But I could see it being even more.
Yeah. One of the bikes I actually went over to see was the new the Street Triple, the RR with the new fairing and the new round headlight on the front. I went to see that, and I loved it. I'd be honest, I loved it, and I loved that Triumph finish on it. It's absolutely stunning. But the price, 18,000 quid. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other bikes out there which can very well compete with that for $5,000 cheaper than that. So, actually, that's the other thing. One of the other bikes I went to see was the BSA, Gold Star, the new Gold Star. And I actually, that leads me on because the whole reason I got into motorbikes when I was 4 or 5 years old is my father was looking after a friend of his had a BSA Gold Star, the original version. And my father kept it in his garage because this guy didn't have a garage and he didn't want to leave it outside. So it stayed in our garage for 6 months or something like that, And I'll never forget one of my first childhood memories. I used to get out of bed. I couldn't wait to get out of bed every morning before I went to school and come down and sit on the BSA Gold Star. You know yourself, that smell of petrol and oil. And it was that whole ambience of the Gold Star which introduced me into motorcycling for the very first time. So when the new Gold Star came out, I just thought, I've got to have one for the memories, and then I went over, had a look at it, had a sit on it. And again, obviously we can't ride them when we're in a show like that. And I'd love to ride one next year, but the Royal Enfields, the Continental GT that I have, the Mr. Clean version, to me is still one of the best looking bikes I've ever seen. Again, it's all personal to me, but the Gold Star didn't set me alight. And that was part of the whole thing when I came away. And I think if BSA don't get the pricing correct, they could be in trouble with that. I think they have to get the pricing correct for the comeback with this.
Yeah, I mean, pricing of bikes is just all a bit ridiculous at the moment. I understand. I understand their reasoning behind it because all the component parts, the prices of everything have all gone up, and I get that. But we just seem to have jumped from 10 grand was your upper level of bike, wasn't it? Your 1 litre sports bike, your top of the range R1 Gixxer blade. They were around about that 10 grand, maybe 11 grand mark. And then all of a sudden one year, was it Yamaha? Yamaha or BMW brought out their litre sports bike, and all of a sudden the price was 14.5, 15. And then we just seem to have gone for the horizon from then on. It's just 22 grand for like a top of the range sports bike now. In fact, more than that for the top. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. No,
it's just it's not the economic mode of transport that it once was.
Yeah, and when you're spending that sort of money, as we all know, really, you then have to justify it. So, our weekend toys in the summer then become more, oh God, how often am I going to use this? And I certainly have to justify spending anywhere near that sort of money on a bike, Actually, one of the other bikes I fell in love with was the BMW, the R18 Transcontinental.
Did you?
What a machine!
With the big fairing all at the front.
Oh, fabulous! Like the dashboard, the whole seat in the upright position. I loved it. Fabulous. I'm doing a trip next year, big trip, and I'd love to tap somebody to try and get a loaner of a motorbike. And when I sat on that, I just thought, okay, I know what the bike. I know what the bike has to be like. So.
Have you ridden the R18?
No.
Yeah, I have to admit, and I've got a video on it. It's probably one of the biggest letdowns I've had in biking. I was expecting.
Really?
Yeah, I'd ridden the Harley Fat Boy and quite a few Harleys in the year leading up to that, and I'd always thought the Beamer, the R18, is going to be just the top of this market. It's going to be typical BMW. Yeah. It was soulless, and it just didn't handle. Like, it was horrible in the corners, unless it was just me having an off day. But it felt terrible. I was literally scraping the runner boards, the foot pegs. You even looked at a slight deviation in the road and you scraped the pegs. It was shocking. And God. For a 1.8 boxer engine, we've both got GSs. We know what that boxer engine feels like. It's really torquey. It's lovely. For a 1.8 version of that engine, it was gutless. It was soulless. I was just left flat. I really was so disappointed by it.
I'm going to do it on my GS then.
Well, you might be different. You might get on it and it might be totally different for you. I could have been having a bad day. I don't know, but I just didn't enjoy it at all.
I'd love to have a shot on one. Yeah. So, in fact, I was going to wait until after Christmas before I started contacting the dealers over here. Yeah. And letting them know what I'm at next year, But after speaking to you now, I might just do it on the GS. Might be a better option all around.
Biking is really personal, isn't it? One man's coal is another man's diamond. So
this is it. Yeah.
Has BMW not got a PR department in Ireland itself? They'd be the ones that I'm aware of. No.
Yeah. No, not that I'm aware of. There's a couple of dealers, Keary's down in Cork, are where I bought the GS from. So I'll start shouting them up first and see what the crack is. But I've just had new rubber put on my GS, so it wouldn't be all bad if I have to head away on that.
What have you put on?
I got the Michelin Road 5s trail version. Yeah. Good. So, never had them before. Have you not? Do you like them? No, I had the Metzler, Road Tech 01s.
Road Tech 01s.
Yeah. They were great, except in the wet. I lost the back end a couple of times, and I know if it wasn't for all the technology on the bike, I wouldn't have saved the bike myself. So it scared me a little bit. Now they were down, especially on the edges, they were down quite a bit. So that's why I just thought, no, I'll have a change. But now that only happened over the last month. So I'll see how I get on.
I remember with the Road Tech 01s, I thought they were amazing for the first 2,000 miles. And then it was literally like a switch went, and they were horrendous. I got 4,300, and they were to the core. They were literally through the rubber and to the core of the tire. And the last 2,000 miles was terrible. But then I moved to I've had Dunlop Road Smart 3s. They were amazing. Then Michelin Road 5s. They were brilliant. Every bit as good, I thought, as the Dunlops, but you got about 1,000 mile more. And then recently, through the TV show, that's sponsored by Dunlop, so they've given me. Oh yeah. I tried the Meridians, and now I'm on the Mutants, or the other way around, and they've both been equally as good. Great. I've done track days on them and everything. They've been great. Really good times.
Well, since I had the Michelins put on, I haven't even ridden the bike, because that was only last week, and of course we've had Storm Barra here as well. So I just haven't been out on the bike, but no, I'm looking forward to seeing how it handles and see how that feels. So
I think modern, for the vast majority of us out there, modern sport touring tires, you know, I mean, you're never going to outride them. They're shit hot.
Absolutely.
You know, you can do track days on them, you can tour on them, you can ride all year round on them. They're brilliant. But again, it's mental. Yeah. It's mental. If you decide you don't like a tyre, it's useless then, isn't
totally
it?
Is. Yeah. And even though even though my back end was twitchy there a few weeks ago, that was it. I had to change the tyres because again, it's mental. It was in my head. That's it. They have to be done. Totally. Because I was just terrified riding it after that happened. So
right. There's a second part. Second part to Fulch's question here. Secondly, a topic that was touched on in the pod with the boy band regarding the comeback of the sports tourer. Do you both honestly feel that they're going to replace the tractors, as in the big adventure bikes? Manufacturers have invested millions to meet and better the market demand to give us the modern day adventure bike. Plus, how many wankers in BMW clad gear will be upset if they suddenly decline off the market? Personally, I think the market needs it. Plus, people might actually use their machines for what they're designed to do, but wondered where you stand on the subject. So I feel like there is a rise in the sports tourer sort of market from manufacturers. There's more of them beginning to produce bikes in the sports touring market. Do you think that's going to overtake the adventure bike sector, or what do you think?
Personally, I do. And I think the two huge signs of that are that new Suzuki bike, the GSX S1000 GT, stunning looking bike. And the other bike, obviously, which has been released by Honda to sort of coincide with that, I'd say, or to rival that, is it the NT 1100?
NT, 1100 NT,
again, that was another bike I was disappointed in looks-wise. At the motorbike show, I just thought it looked very, very bland. Again, the proof is in the riding of these. But going back to the question, I think sports touring could easily take over because, as we both know, the GS, you can't really off-road a GS, you know. Well, I certainly can't anyway.
You can. If you know what you're doing, you can.
Well, I suppose so, yeah.
I don't, by the way.
No, but I've just ordered another bike, a CRF 300L, to try and improve my off-road riding skills, because that's the weakest part of my riding. So I'll never use the GS off-road, not since I tipped it over. Trying that last year. Wrong tyres, very inexperienced. Of course it was going to go wrong, and it did. But fortunately, the bike didn't have hardly any damage on it. But no, I'll be keeping the GS for absolute touring. The FJR, anybody who's watching this and who's followed me since I started this last year will know of my love affair with the FJR. Now, that to me was the epitome of a sports tourer. Absolutely incredible bike. Loved it. But it just didn't like me. I'm the wrong size and shape for a bike like that. And whilst I loved it at speeds, holy Jesus, taking that up to top whack speed was incredible. But driving it slowly around a car park, it was over. I dropped it several times. I mean, with all the weight up high, and that a strange phenomenon. I think it's common with. Or maybe it's just that sort of year of FGRs. When you lean it into a corner and have to put in opposite steering to take it out of the corner, that scared the hell out of me every time I went. And tried to get the knee down. I just thought I was never going to get back up again.
What, counter steering?
Yeah, counter steering on that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I contacted a lot of people about it. A few people who'd all seen me videos about the FGR who said they'd had the same problem. So I was able to speak to them at length about it because I just thought there was something wrong with my bike. But common problem in a 2010 FGR, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So, but that scared the bejesus out of me as well. So that's another reason I just thought, oh, gosh, I'm going to have to try something else because it's just not for me, the bike. Now, I'd had a 20-year break from motorbikes and then came back into it and got an FGR. So perhaps I did it wrong. I should have got something a little bit smaller just to build up the confidence again before I went straight into a 1300 sports tour. But fabulous bike. And I love all the space we have on the GS and everything. I really do. I love the look of the GS again. If it makes you smile when you're not even riding it, it's done. It's ticked the box for me. But those two new sports tours, as much as I love the look of the Suzuki, the other fella, the Honda, is very bland looking.
I don't get what Honda's doing with that because to my knowledge, and I, by all means I could be wrong, I often am, but my understanding is it's the Africa Twin 1100 engine without any of the bells and whistles. They've taken all the electronic gadgetry off, which I don't get. I would have thought you would put that on a sports tourer, surely. I would have thought.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what you'd want. I could be wrong. But what I've heard is they've taken all of that off, and the design looks. It's just a Ford Mondeo, isn't it? It's a Ford Mondeo bike. It's just bland beige. Nothing tickled my nuts with it at all. It might be different once you get on it and ride it, because initially the GS did nothing for me, but I've fallen in love with it. The GT was the opposite. I liked the look of it in the press images and the videos that I saw, and I watched Richie Vida's vid. But when I saw it at the show, it was just a fleeting glimpse. Again, it didn't do anything for me. But it might be different once I'm up close and when I get my hands on one. It's interesting, Mark. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say I'd love to ride the Suzuki GT, but even after seeing the Honda at the show, no aspirations to even get on it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So,
Mark, it's interesting you asked that, mate, because I was at in the pub basically a couple of days ago with my bikey mates, and this topic came up, and I was arguing that very fact that the sports touring market, I think, is going to be the new adventure bike market, because the adventure bike market is vastly made up of people like me, people that used to ride sports bikes but are getting a bit old and fat for them. They want performance, but they want comfort. And for a long time, there's not been really anything sexy in between the sports bikes and the big shiny GSs and Ducati Multistradas and everything. And now we're starting to get some new sports bikes, like sport tourers coming in. The Hayabusas come back. Who knows if maybe the Quacker will come back? I don't know. Maybe BMW will do the K1300 again, because that was an epic machine. Who knows?
Beautiful.
But it would fill that void, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I actually rode a K1300. I went to buy one of them before the FGR and absolutely loved it, but it just came down to price in the end. Right. And that I plumbed for the FGR, but stunning bike, that BMW. Yeah, so be interesting to see, because I think even next year it would depend on the success of Suzuki and Honda, of course, with these two new models. But I think if they go well, it'll really raise the attention from other manufacturers.
Yeah, there's been a lot of hype around their launch, hasn't there? And I think
Huge.
Purely on that alone, on the hype and social media, I think a lot of the manufacturers might be going, if they didn't have plans already for that, might be going, "Ooh, this is something we need to look at." Yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely, exciting times. It's great, isn't it?
It is. It is good to see, for sure.
It's very good. Yeah. One bike I don't like, by the way, is the Aprilia, that Touareg.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not for me, man. Not for me. So, they've even copied the color scheme of the Africa Twin. Don't do that. Go acid gold again. Like they really cracked it open with that the color scheme on the RS660.
How are you finding ownership with the Aprilia?
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I knew of all the problems when I was on the waiting list to get it. I knew of all the problems everybody else had in the engine recalls and this and that failing. And so far, the only thing which has gone wrong is the engine warning light, which I was told would be on anyway and just needed a software update. So
right.
once I hit 1,000 miles, I got that turned off. But to ride, everything about that bike just excites me. I love it. And it's stunning, absolute stunning. And what a head turn. Even people who aren't into motorbikes stop me, when I'm out with that. Yeah, no, it's just incredible. I love it.
Is the service interval, is it still valve clearances every 4,000 miles?
No, absolutely not. No. So I've just had 1,000 done, and I don't need to go back. And now I'm talking in kilometers. I don't need to go back until 12,000. And okay. I think it's when it hits 20,000, it then gets a valve clearance.
Right, because the only Aprilia I've ever owned was a Tuono. I'll mention it now. When I finished my world trip, I sort of adopt the Tuono was my
get that one out of the way, Bruce.
Get out of the way. Just get it out of the way. 50 minutes in, I can do that. Yeah. The Tuono, the V4 Tuono was like my poster bike. I was like, I want that. So I treated myself when I came back, I'd done 4,500 miles in the first about a month because I took it away on a trip. And it was amazing. In the Spanish mountain roads, it was absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
But then it needed the first service, the first main service. And it was just, it kept conking out on me and everything. And all the dealership said was, well, it's valve clearances. It needs its valve clearances done. And I'm like, it's done 4,000 miles. And they were like, yeah, they have to be done every single service. I was like, that's ridiculous. No. It's just, and it was just a nightmare. It kept conking out on me. It didn't want to start. It was just, I got rid of it in the end. Gutted. I'm hardly surprised. That's not a pleasant ownership experience. So no.
would you consider going back to Aprilia after that? Because normally what happens with me, if I'm with a brand and it's failed, doesn't matter what the model is, but if the brand has failed, I'm gone. And I'm not just talking about motorbikes. I'm talking about camera equipment and everything, lenses, the whole thing.
Well, I mean, anyone that follows my channel will know I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with GoPros because they're just. I mean, I've got the GoPro 1, but I've got the 1, the 2, the 3. I skipped the 4, 5, 6. I went to 7s, then 9. I'm going to be getting a 10, and they've all
don't bother, mate.
They've all just been dog shit. I mean, the picture quality is amazing, and the sound quality is amazing when it works. Yeah. And it's you just can't count on it. But there is not a single helmet camera out there I've tried that is reliable. When you plug in an external mic, they just seem to fuck up. I don't know why, but they just don't seem to work.
Yeah, it's like you've written my script there, to be honest, Bruce. I'm totally with you. I wouldn't bother if I was you upgrading to the 10. No. I had to for work. I had to buy 2 of them for in-car stuff and everything. And again, on broadcast TV jobs, the 2 new GoPro 10s have fucked up the day's filming. We've lost footage. Footage you just can't do again. I was making a documentary, was it last year or the year before, with the 9 about people sea swimming all around the coast of Ireland. Beautiful documentary. And we've got all this amazing footage underwater with the 9s and went to transfer the files off the card. And the whole thing was corrupted, lost everything. And that's stuff you can't redo because a lot of the people we were filming were disabled, and you can't ask them to go and do it again because the camera's messed up. But I've lost to date, with the new GoPro 10s, I've lost 2 days filming bike reviews, again, which I can't do again because I haven't got the time and I can't go back to the dealership and tell them my camera messed up. Can I take it out for another day? It's just so frustrating. So what I do, well, not anymore because I'm stopping using GoPro. Full stop. I just can't. The frustration is too much. Mm-hmm. So what I do up until a few weeks ago, I was taking 6 or 7 cards with me on a bike review, and then swapping cards out after like every hour, which is terrible when you're having to think of all that as well as all of the stuff you're going to be saying, and as well as trying to get an honest feel of how the bike is performing. We've got a lot to do on the day, and I know you guys have bikes for a bit longer. I'd love to get that to that stage where somebody will drop a bike off to me for a month or something like that. But at my level, I get a bike for a day, and I have to make it all happen within that day and have it back to the delership before they close that bike. You can't do it with unreliable cameras, and both of the GoPro 10s have failed me. Now I've been on to GoPro. That customer service is appalling.
It's shocking.
Not only can you not get through to them, then they never get back to you on an email. I'm on their own forum, their own support forum, pleading my frustrations, not as a motor vlogger, but as a broadcast television cameraman. GoPro nearly cracked it, I think. In the TV world, nobody would ever use a GoPro because it just wasn't professional enough. And 3 or 4 years ago with the GoPro 7, we started using them as a wide shot on a TV production, just to get that shot stuck up on the ceiling. If it was only in the show for 6 or 7 seconds, it's an angle we couldn't get.
Yeah.
And the GoPro must have known that they were actually breaking into that broadcast TV world. And because when they released the 8, the megabits went up, the picture quality went up. And, I just thought this is really exciting. We can start exploring, all sorts of different and wonderful angles on a TV documentary, rather than having to use like an Alexa Mini or, crazy expense, something like that. So we were all very excited about it in the TV world. But now the word is out. They're unreliable, so we can't use them again.
I notice you're using the Insta360, the One X2, quite a bit now.
Love it. I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with that, but it was my own fault. This is terrible. So, yes, it's brilliant for those effects shots. I've tried to use it as the one camera on my motorbike, and I had a lot of problems, mainly with the sound, because the cheap little plastic audio input which goes into the side, which I have a Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone connected to. I'm sure you've seen it. Loads of motor vloggers are using that system setup now. So it never quite fitted sometimes. So it would come loose, especially with the vibration on a bike and the wind hitting it and all that sort of stuff. So there were a few times that I lost audio, and I had to do the audio and voiceover afterwards. You know yourself, it's not the same. But then as recently as 3 months ago, this is crazy, the camera kept crashing out on me and freezing. And I was just, what the hell? Here we go again. It's the same problems as the GoPro. However, it wasn't, because I've done a software update on the actual Insta360 One X2. It reset itself with the voice command set on.
Right.
So whenever I was talking inside my helmet, I was cutting the camera with certain words I was saying. It was just crashing out of record. So it took me forever to investigate why this was going on. And again, I was on the forums and I was contacting Insta360. And then the penny dropped, and this was what it was, a voice prompt. So I just turned voice prompt off, and it's been reliable as clockwork ever since. It's just been fantastic ever since. So when the bad weather clears up and we get a bit of sunshine again, I'm actually going to go out just using the Insta360, the Wireless Go 2, which I have the transmitter. I've just bought a new helmet, a Scorpion ADX1 helmet.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous helmet. So I put a little hot shoe just on the chin of the helmet there, so I can just clip in the Wireless Go microphone. So it's a very neat affair on the helmet.
Yeah, it looks good.
And obviously, with the Wireless Go 2, obviously I can just pick the shot of me for all the talky bits, and then just play the same thing again in that free software which it comes with, and choose the POV point of view shot looking forward. And then what I normally do is I make sure I have all the content out the way first, and then I do the fancy shots, on the selfie stick, sticking it outside of the bike and all that sort of crap. So,
yeah, all the B-roll stuff.
So I'm going to give that a go. And actually, I know Andy uses his phone to do the walk-around stuff, because, like I said earlier, I've just upgraded to this new iPhone 13 Pro Max or whatever it's called. The camera quality on it is it's unbelievable, sensational. And it has a mode called cinematic, which is, it just gives it that depth of field, that much more professional look. And in January, what month are we in now? We're in December. Next month, Rode, who make the Wireless Go 2, they're releasing a new piece of software called the Micro A1. It's some sort of, I think that's it. Check their website, folks. But it's some sort of interface to go into your phone, tiny little box again, which will allow you to input the signal from your Rode radio mics straight into your phone, which I think for us is going to be invaluable. So I'd love to think, I mean, it's crazy, some of the, not the bike reviews, but some of the trips that I go off and do with points of interest. I've got the drone, I've got 2 cameras, I've got my phone, I've got my Panasonic GH5 SLR, 5 cameras on a bike trip. And I'm still trying to think about what to say and everything. So I'm really looking at ways of scaling all this down. So like I say, iPhone 13 and Insta360 One X2 is where I'm at the moment. But as we all know, that could all change when it doesn't work again.
Genuinely, Dave, I'm exactly the same, mate. I've generally got 2 or 3 cameras on the bike at any one time. Plus, if I'm on my own bike, I've got my Inov K5 system. So there's front camera, rear camera on that, plus the mic from that. Then I've got, I use my phone. I've got the drone. I've got the little DJI Pocket 2 thing that I use as well. So all the gear. And then I look at somebody like Andy, TMF, and sometimes he will use one camera. He'll just have a chin-mounted camera and he'll have his phone and he just creates it. Sometimes simplicity is best because he doesn't get any issues.
Content is key at the end of the day, that's it. And if we can get the same message across, just keeping it scaled down. But Andy got a 360 because I've seen a few of his later videos. He's using the 360 on it. Oh my God, I did a track day not so long ago in Mondello, the racetrack we have over here in Ireland. And I wanted to make a video about it, of course. So you're not allowed to, I think it's standard practice on every racetrack, you're not allowed to have any cameras on your helmet for obvious reasons. No,
because of Schumacher. Yeah. You're not allowed.
Absolutely. So that's fair enough. So I made sure that the bike was all cameraed up and I had the Insta360 sticking out the side of the bike, just with the pole collapsed. So like only to that length, but out the side of the bike with the Insta360 on. I thought this would be perfectly acceptable. Oh my God, I was chased around the racetrack by the marshals, and they were all flagging me to come in and everything. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here anyway? They weren't too happy about it for obvious reasons. I mean, obviously, if I was leaning the bike over and I'd smashed the camera lens and glass on the track and everything, totally makes sense. But they're
all right over here. You can use them here.
Sticking out the side.
I mean, it's within reason, but by the sounds of what you said, if it's the selfie stick and it's as low as it'll go,
collapsed.
That'll be fine. Some want you to have them tethered. They want you to have a tether connected as well.
I did do as well. Yeah. So, but anyway.
But you get good views with them. You get lovely views with the 360.
I mean, what an incredible dimension that gives us being on a motorbike.
Absolutely.
Just look how far technology has come. Again, harken back to this new phone system. It's amazing to think we can just, as I've just done over the last 2 days, go off to a motorbike show and record a whole video entirely on the phone.
Yeah.
And
it's good enough.
And it is good enough. And then go out on a motorbike and have these incredible effects shots, which actually looks like there's a drone following you. I mean, it's unbelievable, which actually gets rid of the stick in the software. Mental.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
It's brilliant.
Right, we need to keep on track here, Dave. We've done 2 questions.
All right, mate.
Next one. Pete English. Hi, guys. Hope you're both fitting well. Not really a question, more of a discussion. What's going on with all this heated clothing? Everyone and their auntie has gone and got some. Granted, I've not ridden many miles in sub-zero temperatures, and honestly, I have no real desire to do so. But here in the UK, it's a bit much to have socks, jacket, gloves, and a heated sanitary pad under your arse, isn't it? Keep up the great work. Live your life. Pete, yes, it is. It's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, to be honest, at the moment. I saw a competition by Kais. Kais were running a competition on their social media to win a trip to Iceland. And you just had to enter this competition and sort of fill in an application. And I thought, oh, God, yeah, I fancy some of that. So I entered it. And a month or so later, I get an email saying, congratulations, you've been selected to go forward. I thought, oh, happy days. What I didn't realise was like every man and his dog who's got an Instagram account has been selected. Most people haven't even entered the blooming competition. They were just given this kit. So now I'm, and I see all these videos of people like, oh, I'm going out riding today because it's 3 degrees and, I'm putting this kit on. And I just think, I can't be bothered faking it. I'm not into that. If it's Baltic, I'll put it on, fine. But I've ridden for years. I've ridden for years down to like minus 38. I rode in bloody Canada, and I wasn't wearing heated clothing. So you know what I mean. It's just I know why companies do this. I know why they do it. They saturate the market. It gets loads of eyes on their product. It works. That's why they do it. But I just I don't think I'll be winning the competition, put it that way.
I'm totally with you. To me, it sort of spoils the whole experience. I love going out for a winter bike ride and coming back freezing cold and sitting in front of the fire and all that sort of crack to warm up again. I love that crack. I would never be buying. And again, it's something else to think about. Can you imagine? If you got used to your heated clothing and then the day you want to go out on your bike and realize that your lithium battery on your jacket was not charged. If you became used to that, you wouldn't go out.
I 100% love it. It's awesome. Like the heated jacket is fantastic, and the heated socks are amazing. They are amazing, genuinely amazing. But I've survived without them. I'll survive without them again. It's nice. It's nice having it, but it's not the be all and end all, is it? For sure.
Maybe if I was able to get to the level where somebody wanted to send me some to review, I might think differently. But I've never had it. I've no desire to have it. And to be honest, I've no desire to even have heated gloves. I'm quite happy, like we're on the GS having the heated grips. That's enough. In fact, they're too hot. They're too hot on the GS. Yeah. So
absolutely, they are too hot.
That's enough for me. And I'm pretty much a fair weather rider anyway, unless I'm going to go off on a trip and I get caught out in bad weather or there's no other time to do the trip, then, I sort of do pick and choose my days to go out for a spin anyway.
Got you. My best advice for a YouTube channel, I appreciate you've not asked for it, but I'm going to put it out there for other people if they're listening, is just be you. Don't try and be what you think people want you to be, because people have a canny knack of sniffing out bullshit. And if you're not genuine, they'll see through it. You cannot keep up a persona or an act all the time. And eventually the real you will come through. And if that's not why people have joined your channel and subscribed, they'll be Oski. So just be you and you'll attract your own community. Right, that's my bit done.
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And to be honest, I couldn't be asked at my stage in life of putting on a show just to try and get a few more subscribers. It's Definitely. Me or it's nobody. So that's it.
Yeah, there's people there's people practically doing headstands on their bike at the moment, just trying to get some attention. And just don't do it. Just don't do it.
I know.
Right, next one, Charlie Callard. Sorry, man. Go on. Apologies.
No. Go on.
So there's a wee bit of a delay here, so that's sometimes why you end up talking over. Charlie Callard. Evening, gents. Hope you're both well. How you doing, Charlie? Thanks for the chat and pics at the NEC. It made my year. No bother at all. Hopefully next time we'll meet, it'll be with beers and bikes. Definitely, mate. Come along to one of the rideouts. Charlie's first question. So, spaghetti bolognese and lasagna are in their makeup similar dishes, but if you had to only choose one or the other for the rest of your life, which would it be? Spagball?
Lasagna.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's easy. Let's say you and I were pilots then, Bruce. You know how they never give the pilot the same meal in case it's dodgy food right. And they both go down. So we're fine. Yeah.
Definitely no spagball for me. Lasagna for me, it's too creamy. I like a little bit of it, but like spagball, I could just sit and eat kilograms of the stuff. Lasagna, I would get a bit too sickly, I think, after a while. For me.
But with the spag ball, how do you manage with the beard? Does it not get intertwined with the old beard?
Everywhere. I've given up with a beard now, David. I just accept the fact I am going to wear whatever I eat. It's in there. I fight the next day when I'm in the shower and combing and cleaning it. It's like, oh, right, there's more. Yeah.
I remember the first ever girlfriend I had, and I was invited to her house by her mum for dinner, and she made spag bol. And I'll never forget eating spag bol in front of this girl at school who was really trying to impress, and I was wearing it like yourself. And I just think maybe I've had something against spag bol ever since. Because our new romance finished very soon after that day of eating spag bol.
Charlie's next question. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Go on, yeah. No, I was just going to say, when you're on the road as well, doing what I do, a staple meal, which you can pretty much get anywhere, is lasagna. So, yeah, It's just become part of my DNA.
Gotcha. Charlie's second question. If you could ride anywhere in the world for a meal, where would it be and what would it be? Oh, good question.
Can I go with that one, Bruce?
Yeah. Please do.
This segues lovely into the trip I have next year. I'm actually next year, and I'll reveal it here, big exclusive here, Bruce. I'm doing a trip next year. I'm going to Naples for a slice of pizza, because that's where they invented it. So the tagline is, I'm going out for a takeaway pizza, but the catch to it is I'm riding to Naples. That's the trip I want that's the trip I want the bike for. So I'm actually going through 10 countries in 19 days. That's the plan. I'm just looking for the time slot to actually do it in.
When you going, Dave?
So, next Easter. Are you up for it?
Well, no. It's Chops and I have this series that we're doing, the Big Hunts, and where we go around the country.
Is this the fish and chips thing?
Yeah.
And, brilliant.
One of them is going to be riding to Naples to get pizza. So.
You are joking?
No.
What? Oh God! When you going, Bruce?
Well, I'm not sure. I think if you're going Easter time, you'll probably beat us.
Before next Easter?
You'll beat us, I think. Yeah.
My God! I've got to get me arse into action now and make that happen. So I'll see you over there. We'll have a pint when we're all there.
You're on. Where would I go?
That's really weird. That's really weird. So I might have to change course.
No, go for it. Just do it. Absolutely do it. God, where have I been that I really like the food? Do you know, I really love the food in Japan. I've got to say, I really did like the food in Japan. And it's an awesome place to ride as well. So I would say Japan then. I don't know what it would be, something Japanese.
I love Japanese. So did you take a bike over there? Did you rent a bike when you were over there?
Yeah, it was all part of the trip.
Yeah. Jeepers, that's unbelievable. So I love Japan. I was over there for a good long time, working with the Beeb again, and it was when Nissan, the car manufacturer, moved into the northeast of England. We were over there doing a load of pieces, in Tokyo, and I fell in love with the place. And back to my singing. It was when karaoke was just becoming a thing in Japan.
They love a bit of karaoke.
Imagine me, honest to God, it was just like the best trip ever. I was out singing every night.
It's made for you, man. It's made for you.
That's my country.
Right, cheers for that, Charlie. Next one, Will Carroll. Good evening from Dublin. Great to have Dave on the podcast, Bruce. I think his channel is wicked. As asked recently, why am I still riding after 40 years, and what is it about it that keeps the fire burning? My question for you both, why do we ride motorcycles? Oh, that's a goodie. Why do you ride?
I have flown aeroplanes all my life. My thing was always flying. That was my addiction. I tried to join the RAF actually when I was 16, and I couldn't because it turns out I'm colorblind in one eye. So I became a TV cameraman instead.
So white balance is always a bit off. Yeah.
Exactly. So I had to fund my own flying, and which was just when I was in my 20s. It was crazy money, and I sort of couldn't keep going. And but then as new aircraft came along and new types of aircraft, so I've flown everything, from the Cessnas all the way through to microlights, and I even tried helicopters at one stage. That was you might as well be throwing your money out of the car on your way to your lessons because that was a crazy amount of money. But then I got into paramotors. I don't know if you know what one of them is. It's a fan on your back, wing above your head. Yeah. So in fact, this is really weird. I went to the Birmingham NEC show, to the light aircraft show, to buy a microlight 10, 12 years ago. And I walked into the show where we've just been for the motorbike show. It was really strange. And the first stand I saw had a paramotor on it. Never seen one before, never heard of one. Started speaking to the guy. And he he told me all about it. And basically, where I live here in Ireland, I can literally take off from the field in front of me in a paramotor, not have to file permissions or any of that crap. So I just thought that's exactly what I need, what I want. Really affordable way to fly. So I messed about in that for 10 or 12 years, whatever it was. And I had a few terrible scares a year and a half ago. In fact, one of my scares was so bad, I had to land in a field. And that was the last time I ever went up in the air. And I had to ring my wife to come and get me with the trailer on the back and everything. Actually, it's gone a little bit beyond that. I'm actually terrified of flying full stop as a result of that scare now. Even coming back home from the motorbike show last night.
Well, even in commercial?
Even in commercial flights, yeah. And I don't know how that's going to affect me with my career in the future, because obviously I film a lot abroad. But I was terrified last night coming home on the Boeing 737 last night. So it's really had an effect on me. I'm going to have to combat that and get over it. But back to the original question. So when I sold, I just literally packed all the paramotor gear up, sold the whole lot, but I needed something to replace it. So even though I'd been into bikes when I was in the early 20s and everything, I just thought, I'll give it a shot again. So I know I said earlier on that I went straight back in and got an FGR. Actually, I didn't. I had a Dragstar, the XV650, cracking little bike, just a little cruiser around the country lanes here where I lived. So I had that for a short time. Never really went out on it much, to be honest. But I just wanted something to give me that buzz and that adrenaline, which the flying always did until I had the scares and totally lost my bottle with the flying. So actually, I get more of a buzz and more adrenaline out of motorbikes than I ever did with flying. It got a little bit boring in a paramotor, just flying around by myself, looking at green fields here where I live, So it was always going to be fairly short-lived. So, and then my wife, of course, was wondering every time I went out flying if it was going to be the last she'd ever see of me. I was taking more and more stupid risks, going up in more and more adverse weather conditions and everything. And then so she was delighted when I told her I was packing in the flying, but I'm getting into motorcycling.
So you ride for the buzz. I reckon I'm probably the same. Yeah, I like. Yeah. I like the adventure. I like the speed, I like the buzz, the exhilaration, and I like the social side of it as well. Like when you're out on your bike and you're meeting up with people, it's obviously it's gone to a different level with me now through the channel, because it's sort of that whole side of it has been emphasized. Which is great. People come up and chat and come out for rides and all that sort of stuff, and I love all that. It's a great vehicle to meet people. I found when you travel, it's a good sort of leveler being on a bike, because whether people ride bikes or not, they'll come over and chat to you because you're on a bike, and I like that.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. Whenever I go out on the Royal Enfield, I find that fascinating. Depending on what bike you're on, the different sort of type of person who might come over and speak to you, because it's all about the bike, of course. Different for you because people will recognize you now at this stage. But for me, it's all about the bike. And whenever I go out on the Royal Enfield, you literally, anytime you park it, it's unbelievable. The fascination around that bike. Everybody thinks it's an original Cafe Racer, from the 60s first of all.
Yeah, it was funny when Chops and I did the fish and chips ride up to the northeast. We did it on the MV Augustas. We had two MV Augustas. Stunning. And the amount of people that came up, we had people coming up who weren't even bikers, and they just came up like in the petrol stations and services and stuff. They just came up and they were like, that is stunning. And they were asking us all about it. And it was only like after 5 minutes conversation with them when I think Chop said to this couple, so what do you ride? And they were like, oh, no, we don't ride bikes. We just think it's a beautiful bike, and they just come over because they thought it was gorgeous.
Brilliant.
Will's got a PS. He says, PS Dave, tell that big bearded Scotsman how good it is to ride in Ireland. I'm coming over to Ireland next year. Don't worry. 2022 is going to be a busy year.
Have you been to Ireland before on a bike, Bruce?
Yeah, I sort of, one of the last stages of my trip, I flew from the States to Dublin and then rode up through Southern Ireland into Northern Ireland, did the sort of road racing scene up around there, and then across to the Isle of Man for the TT and home after that. Fabulous. So it was very quick, but I haven't done the Wild Atlantic Way or anything like that.
Oh my God! I don't know. Did you watch Richie's videos?
Yeah,
he was over here recently. My God! I mean, it's just phenomenal. But it's that age-old thing when it's on your doorstep.
Yeah,
you're less inclined to. It's ridiculous. But I was crazy busy this. In fact, Richie contacted me to say, did I fancy meeting up when he was over here, and I couldn't because I was over in England filming Come Dine With Me. So I was stuck in somebody's kitchen over in England filming Come Dine, knowing that Richie is in my country riding the Atlantic Way on two wheels. It was so infuriating.
Well, I'm coming over. I'll be over next year for sure. So I'll give you a shout.
I'll hook up with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
You're on. Right. Last one of the Patreon questions. Colonel Bullen. Hi, guys. Hope you're both well. Question 1. What is the one country that you visited that really surprised you in a good way that you didn't expect? People and scenery. It's the biggest positive surprise.
Ghana.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I filmed in Ghana years ago. I had no idea what it was going to be like. This was, when would this have been? Mid-90s. And we were filming in a mud hut village. We were over there for a month. The documentary was about a university professor from the northeast of England who was pumping money into this mud hut village and building them a library for the school children. Incredible documentary. So we were over there filming that, and we landed in a helicopter. And for the first time ever, I witnessed young kids, not having ever seen anybody with blonde hair. Now, I had blonde hair back then, probably because I dyed it and tipped it for playing in the band and all that sort of crap. I had all the highlights, So that was a huge eye-opener. I'd never been to Africa before either, but the poverty that we witnessed, it was, to me, I've spent my life looking through a lens and you're looking through a viewfinder. When you do that, that sense of reality has gone. But that was sort of 5 or 6 years into my career. And it was that first sudden sharp shock where I thought, my God, this is just like watching what you see on television news. It was phenomenal. And I'll never forget, there was one young lad who followed us around, followed the film crew around. Well, loads of kids followed us around because we were in their village. But I got on particularly well with this young lad. And I gave him my penknife as a present because he carried my tripod for the whole time we were there, just because you wanted me to be part of it. And I gave him my penknife. That's amazing, the kids over there, give them a stick and they'll build you a motorbike or something. But I gave this lad my penknife as a leaving present. And we revisited the following year just to see the library being built and whatever else. And the young lad had carved me a wooden seat out of one piece of wood, which was the most ornate piece of furniture you've ever seen. Wow. It was incredible. And I still have it. And it's outside in the back garden all these years later. And it's just a wonderful memory to have of that particular country, that kid, that moment. That is just amazing. Ghana. I love the people over there. Beautiful people. Fabulous.
For me, it's Russia, hands down. Russia. It's just it was the biggest surprise. It was the polar opposite of what I expected, and I just loved the place. Loved the place. Loved the people. Well, have you been to Russia?
Yeah, a couple of times, but not for any length of time. Weirdly, I've only ever filmed football matches in Russia. So
yeah, that's not going to be a good experience.
No. So very fleeting visits. I'd love to go. I'd love to go to Moscow, I'd love to spend a bit of time there. So
it's weird because Moscow's cool. You're in Moscow. You've got the Kremlin there and all these iconic places. It's cool. But I just found the further east you go, the nicer people got. And it's weird because everyone in Moscow said, when you go east, like this is from the Russian people. They were like, you're going to die. They will kill you. It's just, they're animals as you go east. And it's utter bollocks. Yeah. They just get nicer and nicer, more hospitable. Yeah. And the more remote you go, the nicer people. That's the same everywhere, I think. Just people are good. I've said this umpteen times. People are good. Colonel also says, opposite. What is the one country that you really looked forward to visiting, and when you got there, it's not really what you expected?
Tell you straight away, Morocco.
Really?
Yeah, didn't get it at all. Yeah, I really didn't get it. We were over there fairly recently, 2-3 years ago. I just didn't get it. Now, didn't help by the fact that I got violently ill with food poisoning for 5 days when we were over there. But I didn't warm to it. We filmed there in the January, so I just had a Christmas break. I keep trying to come up with reasons as to why I should give it a second chance. And as a cameraman, you'd think Morocco was literally like a blank canvas, because it's beautiful to take shots in and everything. I just didn't get it. Not for me. I didn't like if I see another feckin' tagine for the rest of my life, it'll be too soon. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's all you get given, isn't it?
I just didn't get it. It wasn't for me. So that's a country I will not be going back to.
Whereabouts in Morocco did you go?
Oh, we did a tour. Again, it was one of these things where we had 5 celebrities with us and we were filming their interaction. So we were in Fez. To be honest, I've even forgotten all the names of the places we went to because it's not something I
just didn't do anything
remember.
For you.
I really didn't. No. Not for me.
That's a shame. What about you? I'm the polar opposite. I love Morocco, love the people, but again, it's your experience when you're there. I mean, I had a bad time in Mauritania and West Africa, but I would say the biggest place that I was really looking forward to that didn't live up to it was Australia. And it's not the people. The people were amazing. What really got me was how much of a nanny state that country is. That really got to me. It is so ridiculous, and you're seeing it now through COVID. But they are so ridiculously over-legislated over there. And you have this thing in your head that the Aussies are like this, fuck it, I'll do what I want. They're not. They're just like, they're told to do something and they just do it. And it's...
I always thought the Aussies would be like the Irish, fuck it, I'll do it tomorrow. It'll be grand, sure. I thought they were happy-go-lucky, like the amazing people over here in this country, but that's not the case. I've never been to Australia. It's one country I'd love to go to, but...
Don't get me wrong, the people are lovely. They were, I was welcome with open arms, and I've got absolutely nothing against Aussie folk. They were brilliant, but it's just the government over there are just... God, like zealots. Everything is really heavily legislated. Everything. But it's hard to get in. It's not really hard to get out. You just they want you out. But
there's 2 things I've got to tick off my list now, Bruce. I've got to tick Australia off and the R18.
No, mate. Honestly, as I said, you've got to experience these things for yourself, haven't you? Just like you don't believe what you hear.
Horses for courses and all that. Absolutely. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Right. That's all the Patreon ones.
Okay.
Are you all right for time?
I am, mate. Yeah. Are you?
Lovely. Yeah. All good, man. All good. Right. We'll crack across to
how long have we been
Instagram
going, actually?
About an hour and a half now.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a time warp, isn't it?
Oh, Jesus. The wife's going to be knocking on the door here before long. You have to go and get the curry.
Yeah, well, we're just coming up for 6:30 now. So do you want to do another half hour? Another half hour? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's perfect, mate. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, my door's just
somebody coming into your...
Yeah, it's the pup. Yeah. It's the dog. She just wants to make sure I'm still alive. Right, so we're crossing out, folks, onto Instagram. So that's at TeapotOne Insta, and I'll leave links for Dave's socials in the vid description or the podcast show notes.
Very kind.
So first one, Will Boyd 87. Who's the biggest drama queen you've worked with?
Oh my God! That unfortunately, that's part and parcel of doing what I do. Wow, this is tricky because the people I want to see, I might end up working with again. So I've got to be very careful here.
Think about the long game, Dave. Think about the long game.
Think about this one. Two people who surprised me straight off. Oh God, I tell you, there was remember Sir David Frost?
Yes.
He did that looking through the keyhole thing.
Yeah.
Then he had an interview series which I worked with him on. Oh God, he wasn't a particularly nice guy to the crew.
Really?
No, it was very much him and the crew on the next level. So much so we used to stay in different hotels. Because our hotel shouldn't be good enough for him to stay in, and vice versa. And then even at lunchtimes and everything, he'd have to sit on a different table. And as much as you try to have the crack and, get to know everybody you're working with, because you're all a big team at the end of the day, couldn't crack him at all. Nobody could. I in fact, I'll go as far as to say, and it's terrible talking about the dead like this, but I thought he was a vile individual. But that's my own personal take on him. Another person I was really surprised with, God bless him, another dead fella, Terry Wogan, a fellow Irishman. Irishman. Now, I've heard from other people, in fairness, I've got to say this, I've heard from other people that he must have been having a bad day. Because other people, colleagues of mine, have worked with him who said completely the opposite experiences to what I had. We were filming a charity thing he was doing, and he loved his golf. And I'll never forget it. We were coming out of the hotel foyer one morning, and we only had to walk down to the 18th fairway or whatever to do the bit of filming, And he wouldn't. He wanted the limo, and of course, unless there was a limo, he wasn't going there, and a taxi wasn't good enough, and all of this crap. Holy Jesus! I just thought, life's too short to deal with all this crap. But I've since been told he was just having a bad day, which is fair enough. Everybody has an off day, so I put it down to that. One guy I particularly took a dislike. You've got me on a roll here now.
I know, yes. And another thing.
yeah, and another one. Can you remember that bastard? One guy I really had a dislike to was another Sir Ian Botham, the cricketer.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. Don't get a knighthood, folks, because it changes you. What a wanker. He actually had me thrown out of a cricket ground. So, but I got the last laugh because he said I was too distracting with the camera. He wanted to sit there, and watch the cricket match. This was in the afternoon. Cricket's the only sport. I'm dumbfounded every time I see this. I don't know if it still exists, because since I got ejected from the cricket ground, I try and stay away from filming cricket. But it's always amazed me how cricketers can go and get pissed at lunchtime and then come back and play the sport for the afternoon. So your man Botham, he definitely had a few. I was annoying him because I was in his field of vision, and I didn't want to be there anyway. Cricket's not my thing, and the more he saw me getting antagonized, the more he sort of went for me. Anyway, he said, "If you're not careful, lad," he said, "I'll have you thrown out of here." This was in Durham County Cricket Ground. And I turned around to him and I said, "Please don't do me any favours." And and the next thing I knew, I was lifted by two blokes with me camera, a boot up the arse, get out. But in terms of drama queen, that's part and parcel, and the older I'm getting, the more I sort of just laugh at people who are like that. I have great crack with the presenters over here, and it's all part of the fluff. It's grand.
As you get older, you sort of just, it just becomes like water off a duck's back now, really, isn't it? Oh well.
Absolutely.
Can't be asked arguing with people. People are what they are, so fine, whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cilla Black, by the way, she was a bit of a handful. So
really,
she needed her close people around her. So if you were new, like I was when I met her, you sort of had to work on people like Scylla to get in with and that sort of crap.
Oh my God.
Most people that I mention here, I've never worked with them for any long term. It's a day. Or that sort of stuff. You sort of fleet in and fleet out.
Initial impressions.
Yeah. So to them, in fairness, I'm just another cameraman and that sort of stuff. And if they're having a bad day or a stressful day, so be it. But obviously, I take my first impressions of them away with me because that's all I've got to form an opinion of them. So.
Geez, Dave, let's draw a discreet veil over this topic because next you'll be telling me Santa likes kids in the wrong way. So let's move on to the next one. Motor_MA77. All right, lads, how you doing? If you could relive one day from your past, what would you choose and why? Oh, that's a goodie. That's a good question.
Holy Jesus. Well, that could work both ways. Does that mean that you messed up something and
whatever you want,
you wanted to relive it to try and correct it, or
whatever you want,
the moment which was so amazing? But the amazing moment for me, that moment singing in Halong Bay, which I was talking about before on the boat, that was a pretty special moment just off the top of my head. I've been spoiled because of all of the traveling. I'll finish this interview and I'll think to myself, "Oh God, why didn't I tell them about this?" And it's always the way. But the flip side of the coin is, if I could relive a moment to try and make better, it would be the first time I ever went away on holiday with my girlfriend then, and I was still trying to impress the parents because I was leading up to asking this girl to marry me. And her parents take quite a bit of impressing. I early on, I felt as though there's nowhere near me being good enough for their daughter, sort of thing. And we were to go away and meet them on holiday in Spain for a week. So there I am, and I'm on my best behavior, and I'm, giving it all and all the crack and doing everything I could. And the second day, we're on the beach in Spain, and I'm there with Mrs. Perry, who wasn't Mrs. Perry, just the girlfriend at that stage, and her parents, right? And as we're sat on the beach and I'm doing all the conversation and trying to impress them that I'm the best thing ever to walk into their daughter's life, doesn't the mother-in-law take off the top to go topless, sunbathing, and we're sat on sun loungers next to each other?
Oh no!
Oh man! And you've probably gathered by this interview so far, Bruce, right? I'm able to hold my own in terms of conversation. Like I've spoken with the Queen of England, Princess Diana. I can hold myself in any form of society. I can talk with the best and I can talk with the worst of them. All right. So I'm there at that moment, and the mother-in-law's taken off the bikini top to sunbathe topless. And as she's lying down, I went silent, and I was just like, I can't believe she's doing this in front of me, And as she's laying down, getting herself comfortable, and they're wobbling around, like, do you know what I actually said? All my years traveling the world.
Go on.
I actually said, "Smashing tits, Carol."
No.
That's what
to
I
your
came
mother-in-law.
Yeah, to my mother-in-law.
Well, it's a compliment in a way.
Smashing tits, Carol. So you see, very soon after that, I asked them for their daughter's hand in marriage.
Wow.
And I'm not sure they were that happy about it, to be honest. So that's definitely one of those moments in my life. If I could relive again, I might have handled that little situation a little bit better.
Has Carol ever brought this up again?
No. It's one of those things. We know it's there. We know it's rumbling around in the background. But we'll just leave it be. And we've been on holiday a few times since together with them, but she's never gone topless again. Never.
Yeah, You've never gone to the beach. No.
No. If they're going to the beach, we're going shopping. Good luck.
Nice one. Good question, Nat. Good question. Next one, Shotboy 67. If you wanted to follow a bike with a drone, which one would you pick for both remotely piloted and autonomous? Oh, good question.
It is a great question. I'm not sure I'd want to set up any of my drones to try and follow me as I'm riding along with all the different cameras on and thinking about what to say, anything. But the drone for that job is the Mavic Air 2S. It's an incredible drone. I used it as a backup drone to my bigger drones, the Inspire 2 and the Mavic Pro 2. But the Mavic Air 2S, and the reason I say 2S rather than the 2 is that the 2S has a 1-inch sensor. And as well as upgraded technology, that 1-inch sensor, especially here in Ireland where we get our fair share of grey days, the 1-inch sensor on a drone is phenomenal for filming in low light. The contrast, the richness of the picture is beautiful, and you can whack the ISO up without worrying about grain coming into the picture. Fabulous. But the tracking device on the 2S is unbelievable. And again, harken back to the way technology has come, as we were talking about it earlier. So Mavic Air 2S. However, you're probably aware that the new Mavic Pro 3 is out. That comes in a few different guises. There's a cine version.
$3,500.
Stop. A waste of time, waste of money. But this is a bugbear of mine as well. So they've released the Mavic Pro 3, but they haven't released the software to do everything like telling you it's going to do. So to me, that's like going to buy a car and then the dealer saying, oh, and by the way, we'll give you the wheels next March.
Yeah.
You know, what is the point of giving you
ridiculous.
Half the drone? Stop. It just winds me up that. But I think the Mavic Pro 3 will do a phenomenal job. Now, the added advantage that has, obviously, is the battery life. It's reputed to fly for 45 or 46 minutes. In the real world, you'll probably get 35 minutes. But if you're filming yourself on a motorbike and you want to get a plethora of shots riding through some beautiful landscapes in Ireland or wherever you may be, look at the Mavic Pro 3 if you've got a big, healthy bank account, that is, But other than that, the Mavic Air 2S is phenomenal.
I'd say
drone. Brilliant.
Skydio 2. The Skydio 2. It's legally, it's not allowed to be flown outside of America, Canada, and Australia. But I know some people that have acquired them. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Honestly, the Mavic, the DJIs, just they're not even on the same level as far as autonomous tracking is concerned. These Skydios, they will literally, there's loads of footage of them online, and I've seen loads of reviews of people actually trying this themselves. Like people on off-road scrambler bikes or push bikes, they literally have the thing lock onto them with it's a little beacon. It's a little sort of remote that you put in your pocket, and the drone locks onto that. It's not locking onto you. It's locking onto the beacon that's in your possession.
Right. So it's tracking that, yeah.
And then this, you can literally ride down through the forest, through trees, like a downhill mountain bike track through the forest. Yeah. And this drone will follow you through the trees, avoiding everything.
Oh, wow.
And then it might come up above the forest and then come down. When you come on the other side, it'll loop around. It's got built-in, like a built-in cinematic algorithm. So it knows the best shots to get for what you're doing. It's phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely amazing.
My wife was recently asking what I would like for Christmas, so I must investigate that further. That sounds phenomenal. Yeah, I've heard of it, never really looked into it because I've been with DJI all the time. But I must check that out now.
They will not ship to anywhere outside of America, Canada, or Australia. But perhaps if you know somebody over in America, Canada, or Australia who could have it delivered to them and then sent, maybe that might be how certain people get around these things. I don't know.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Your email box is going to be inundated with orders from Skydio.
The thing is, they are without doubt the best drone out there for autonomous flying, for autonomous stuff. But if you want cinematic, the DJIs are the best for the cinematic stuff. So it's a question of what you want, really, to be honest. You end up buying two, won't you? But the Skydio is $1,000, and then if you want the little beacon and a few other bits, you're looking at $1,500 basically to get
that's all
what
right.
you need. Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's amazing.
That's fine. Yeah. Imagine years ago being told that we could have a camera flying and following us on a motorbike just by pressing a button. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this thing,
for
the Skydio,
$1,500 as well.
Exactly. I mean, it literally reads the environment around it and figures out the best flight path to avoid stuff whilst also getting the best shot of you. It's incredible. Before drones came out, Bruce, I messed around with radio-controlled helicopters, and I had models made in America. I'm looking at the picture of you right now doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I was into that crack for years. That all sort of went along with my love and addiction of flying full size, as I was talking about earlier. But I had to remortgage the house to have that model helicopter built with a proper camera gimbal on the front. Ridiculous amount of money. And nearly every time I went out, there was no such thing as downlink or even being able to take your hands off the sticks. You let go of the sticks, you were down. So there was no downlink, so you couldn't see what you're recording. It ran on 2-stroke petrol. You used to get 10 minutes max flying time. It was the vibration in the pictures was horrendous, but it was an incredible tool. So I could only have dreamt of drones and the technology we have now. I sound like a real dinosaur. Oh yeah, when I was a lad, you don't know how lucky you are. So,
but it's incredible how quickly this technology has moved on, isn't it? The DJI's only came out. Geesh, when was the first Mavic? God, what was that?
I'll tell you exactly. I don't know about the Mavic, but yeah, because the 16? Phantom, when the first Phantom came out, that was 2013. So the Mavic came 2 or 3 years after that. So, unreal, isn't it? Phenomenal.
So it's not even 10 years, and we're now at never mind the Mavics, but if you move to Skydio, the technology that they've got now, that's being used by the military. The military have already weaponized that. It's nuts. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. It's like proper Terminator stuff.
The problem is, of course, the more advanced this technology, certainly drone technology, comes, the more shut down we're going to be as filmmakers and hobbyists even, the restrictions and all of this geo-fencing everywhere now built into the software, it is becoming a bit of a problem where you can and can't fly it. It really is. For good reason as well, especially remember that crack, was it last Christmas or the year before at Gatwick Airport, somebody flying a drone which shut down. So, it's there for a reason as well, I suppose. But
yeah, there's a bit of a backstory to that, but we're not clear to go into that. Yeah, definitely. It's way above our pay grade.
I have my own theories as well. So.
Right, next one. Andy_C_89. Favorite road to ride in Ireland? Well, this is all over to you.
All right. I was on a road last month, maybe 6 weeks ago, and I just didn't even know it existed. Again, I keep harping on about this on my channel. We're so spoilt with the roads we have here in Ireland and the scenery. It really is an untapped mecca. I mean, there are still places in Ireland you can go riding and not see another vehicle or a person for half an hour. It's phenomenal. So the answer to your question is this road that I discovered was between Bantry Bay and Kenmare, and we have lots of passes and everything in Ireland. But the name of this place was called the Priest's Leap. Yeah, and it was like something you see on a Top Gear program, where they're riding around the edge of the cliff, and if anything goes wrong, they're gonna. It was the most beautiful scenery I think I've ever been taken by an island. So it's the road between Bantry and Kenmare, and the area was the Priest's Leap. In fact, I've started making a folder on my phone of places to go back to, which I stumbled upon by accident. But other than that, I mean, the national parks, again, that we have here in Ireland, the Connemara National Park, to me, is the closest to me as to what it would be like to ride your bike on the moon. I just think the landscape, the scenery. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch the Wild West movies, and the Lone Ranger and all that crack. And I don't know if you remember all that scenery back in the Wild West back then, on those old films. When I'm riding through the Connemara National Park, it's like that. It's been like being back in one of those old-fashioned Western films.
Wow,
phenomenal!
Seriously?
It's phenomenal, and it's 2 hours from where I live. It's unbelievable, the scenery we have. And you can bet your bottom dollar you won't see another biker. Well, unless you go by the height of summer, of course.
I'm gonna have to make a note and go there.
Oh man, yeah.
A lot of those spaghetti westerns. Sorry, go on.
Say that again. I'm saying Boat Fulcher, the tourist boat over here. They should be sponsoring my channel for this.
I would say, hang on, I've got to open the door. The dog's whining.
Yeah. Work away.
Come on, you in. You come. The cat has gone to sleep on her bed on the landing, so she's got.
The dog's not happy.
No, she won't do anything about it. I was going to say those spaghetti westerns. A lot of them were filmed in Spain, weren't they? Sort of central and southern Spain.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that came down to grants and everything. Ireland had the most amazing thing back in the 90s. You know, there was tax-free sort of. I'm looking for the right word. You know, tax incentives is the word.
To come over and film.
Yeah, and that's why so many amazing films have been shot here. Apart from the incredible landscape, of course, but that tax break was brilliant, introduced by the government. Sorry, where were we with that question? We're off again on another tangent. What's going on?
It's part of this. We've answered that one. That was Andy C89, favourite road in Ireland. Motor MA77 has got another question. He says, me again, lads, what's the worst thing to happen on Top Gear that you can say? And you have to rank the lads first, second, third, who's where.
Right, I know that there's a photograph of me out there with the lads from Top Gear, but actually, I feel like a bit of a cheat because I actually only worked with them for a day and a half or 2 days, so I was never one of the regular cameramen on that show.
Okay.
So I can't really answer that properly. What I will say is the crack we had in the short time that I was filming with them. They were over in Ireland doing one of the Top Gear live shows or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, so I was the cameraman on that, and the crack was hilarious. In fact, I think the photograph is it's missing the hamster, Hammond, because the crack was they'd found somebody smaller than Richard Hammond. So so they all had to have photographs of me taken with them and everything. And if you see that, it's up on my channel on my Instagram or something. But if you see that photograph of me, it honestly looks like they've cut me legs off because James May and Clocks are so tall. But they were hilarious, down to earth guys. I loved all three of them. Couldn't believe how much they smoked.
Right,
but chain smokers, but they were just messers. We had a fierce amount of crack. Absolutely great guys. I couldn't say anything bad.
I would like to have a beer with them. Definitely, they would. Yeah, I think there would
absolutely.
Be a crack.
Yeah. Brilliant fun.
Next one, Robert Newman, 27. Hello, gents. Hope you're both well. Cheers, Robert, and you. Question for both. If you were going off on a bike to travel for a few weeks, choosing from Marvel or DC, which superhero or even villain would you take with you and why? Keep up the good work, Bruce. These podcasts always help on the long haul. Wow.
There's a question. You go first with that one, Bruce, will you?
That's not a world I know much about, to be honest, Marvel and DC. I think is Deadpool one of them? Is he one of that lot? He's about the only one. Him and Iron Man are about the only two I know. So I would say Deadpool, just because it's Deadpool and he's funny.
I love this format because that is some question, isn't it? Just when you think you've got a handle on everything going on here, then a question like that comes in. Again, it wouldn't really be my world, but if I was to name anybody, I was fascinated by Wonder Woman when I was growing up as a kid.
Why would you have Wonder Woman with you, Dave?
Oh, listen, she'd be on Linda Carter. That was her name, wasn't it? The woman who played. Oh my God, I was obsessed with that woman. Absolutely beautiful. So I'd stick her on the back of the bike any day. Even now, she's probably 70 or 80 now. She'd still come along for the ride.
Mate, she's Wonder Woman. She'll be riding it. You'll be sat on the back pillion. Sorry, Robert. It's a world that I'm not entirely familiar with, mate, to be honest. West Cork Wonder. Can you ask Dave what is his favourite part of the west of Ireland? Has he ridden? Oh, here you go. Has he ridden over the Priest's Leap? Well, you just mentioned that, didn't you?
Oh, you're joking. That's a bit odd. That really harks back to that. The other, because I mentioned within that last question, a couple of questions ago, about the Priest's Leap, I mentioned the passes that we have. There's another incredible route called the Healy Pass. And it's like one of those things you see, one of those roads you see normally in drone shots, on some far-flung place in the world. So the Healy Pass is like one of those big zigzags all the way down the mountain. That's incredible to ride. And again, very rarely you'll see any other people on there. It's amazing.
You just don't think of Ireland having roads like that. Wow.
Yeah. I normally stumble upon them. And that's why I've sort of created this folder now on my phone, just to screenshot the Google Maps wherever I am, just to go back there on 2 wheels rather than in 4, and take a few days out. So I have a list a mile long to do next year. In fact, now that I'm not going to Naples for a pizza anymore because yourself and Chops, you're going to do it, I might just ride around.
Just do it.
Ireland.
Go. We might not get to go for a long time. Chops has family commitments that at the moment means he very rarely gets to go away overnight. So this is why we end up doing these ridiculous rides in one day. So the plan is to go to Naples, but there's nothing set in stone yet. So fill your boots, just go do your thing.
Yeah.
Where were we? Yeah. Westcott One Day says, and when are you going to join him for a tour of Ireland, Bruce? Next year. I'm coming over next year for sure. I will be there.
Well, I'll take you around the places we've just spoken about as well.
Spot on. You're on. So, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to do something different to what Richie Vida did. Because all of the places I have on my list, Richie comes over and blitzes them all within a week.
I know. I couldn't believe that. I saw him at the Wild Bad Weekender, and we were chatting, and I was saying, I can't wait to get back to Spain to go and do the Picos. And he's like, I'm going next week. I was like, you dirty bugger. And I was like, I'm thinking of maybe getting a trip into Ireland, but I don't think I'll be able to get over this year. It'll have to be next year. And he was like, I'm going there when I get the week after I get back from Spain. I was like, you dick. But he did a good job of it. It's good videos.
Oh, he did. No, it was fabulous to watch. In fact, I said it was the best television I'd seen in ages. I loved that. And I have to say that the crack you boys had at Andy's house as well a few weeks ago on the live podcast. I was sat there pissing myself. It was like being in the pub with you lads. It was brilliant fun. So,
they're a good bunch, those three. On. Really good bunch.
Yeah.
Right, next question. So go on.
I was just going to say, I don't know Chopsy at all. So obviously I know the three of you, the other three. Go on, move on.
He's a nice lad, John. Nice lad. Exeter Rider 3. In recent years, with the huge budget cuts and high-low management, bad decisions of the BBC, not to mention recent, this is going to be topical, isn't it? Not to mention recent damaging reputation issues over the last 10 years, where does Dave see the BBC in 20 years' time, considering the competition from other independent, better-funded channels out there, or YouTube? Ooh, wow. Cool.
God, that's
future of the BBC.
That's in 30 seconds.
Cool.
That's a very political one for me because I'm still involved, obviously, at some sort of level working with all of these people. So I've got to be very careful what I say. But what I will say is, before we talk at the BBC, I think what has to change, and it's inevitable, it's going to change, is the license fee model. When the license fee model was set up to fund the BBC, and indeed here in Ireland to fund RTE, I think with the wide variety and all these new channels coming out now, and the scope and the choice that we have as a viewer to watch anything we like on television, the license fee, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think it'll be scrapped, but it needs to be remodeled. And I think ultimately that will depend a lot on the BBC's future. The other part of that is that BBC has obviously been a flagship channel to go to for whenever there's a breaking news story. And I know last year with the COVID, I went to the BBC first. That's my choice, obviously, because I worked for them for so long, I suppose. So I think if anything happens, because they've already tried to break up the BBC into different regions. Indeed, they sent everything up to Manchester years ago, where a lot of the stuff is now made out of London. So it could be fragmented even more like that. But I think predominantly it'll become a news service because of the huge scope and the huge amount of other networks we have to watch everything else we choose to watch. So I think the BBC will always do what it's done best and hang on to its news service, but be fragmented after that.
I think as a viewer, like for me, I mean, I have a big bugbear with news, and to be honest, BBC is one of the main culprits in my eyes. Just full of shit. You know, I know firsthand from dealing with stuff on the streets in London, and then I look at what is reported, and it's utter bullshit. It's utter lies. Yeah. It's politically driven. It's otherwise driven. So I don't touch any news anymore, to be perfectly honest with you. But for me personally, what I think the BBC shines at and is better head over heels than just about anyone else are your drama stuff. The drama series are just amazing. And like the nature stuff. Oh my God, some of the nature stuff is just incredible. Of course, no, the Attenborough stuff and everything is just phenomenal. But if there's not a license fee to fund all of that, what pays
I think that's part of, I think it could be made by independent production houses, and even if it still gets shown on the BBC, but I think to fund that in-house, if that license fee, which has to change, it really will depend on that. So I'd say that obviously they're looking at it, but very scary times actually for the BBC ahead.
It's such a rapid and drastic change in people's viewing modes and models, and as you said, the funding of it. It's just such a wide swept fundamental change in how people watch TV. It's just not what it was, is it?
On top of that, even in the independent television sector, advertisers are now looking at the power of social media. They're not advertising on TV as much as they were. So that's all going to change. There's going to be a shift there as well. So it's going to be a huge shake-up within 5 years.
Oh, massively, massive. I mean, most people I speak to, on a one-on-one basis, pretty much turn around and say, I don't really watch TV anymore. I watch YouTube. And that's people of our generation. And people below 30, 25 don't watch TV. They're on YouTube watching that all the time. And it's all subscription-based, Netflix, all that sort of stuff.
Well, this actually, that goes to exactly where I was going with that. I mean, I can't remember the last time I wanted to watch something on television, really, unless it's on demand. So I'm watching The Crown at the minute on Netflix, and I'm loving that. But it's that whole freedom of you can watch it whenever you want, on your phone, wherever you are, and all that sort of crap. Of course, that's the future. So I don't know, wherever it's going, I still hope I'm part of it. I'm not hanging the camera up just yet.
The thing is, for you and anyone that's involved in the actual making of the content, then you're still needed to make the content, aren't you? It's just who's going to fund that? There needs to be something there to fund it, doesn't there? That's the thing.
That's right. Yeah. That's what it's all down to. So.
Good question.
Right, good question.
It is very good, and we could sit here, I think, for about another 45 minutes chatting about that. But I'm very conscious of time. Right. Richard Higgett just has, who's Bandit Man. He's got one last little question here, which I think we've covered. Can you ask Dave if he thinks GoPro cameras are worth buying, given how many issues he's had with them? Well, we chatted about that right at the start, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely not. Save your money, Bandit Man. Save your money. Don't go with it. And in fact, I know you've had trouble with all of your action cams, Bruce. The best one, the most reliable, and actually not the best in terms of picture quality, was the original DJI action cam. I don't like that new one. I don't like the new one they've brought out. There's no
little cube
sound input. Yeah, the field of vision you can't change, and it's too wide to cover. Waste of time. But the original one they had, that was a serious contender. I thought they were going to improve on it, and I was waiting for that new version coming out. But unfortunately, for what my needs are, it wouldn't suit at all. But don't go GoPro. I seriously only have to buy GoPros because my clients want them as part of the kit when I'm doing television stuff. Otherwise, I would have ditched GoPro years ago.
The best camera I've ever used for motorcycle stuff, for moto vlogging, was the original Drift Ghost S. Don't know if you remember that. It was
No, I don't.
It was a camera that was side mounted and it had a rotating lens here, and you could orientate it lovely. It had a straight 3.5mm audio input, which was weather tight. It had interchangeable batteries. It had a little LCD screen on the side so you could frame your shot. Brilliant. The picture quality was dog shit, but it was brilliant for what you needed. And it had a massive, big, chunky remote that you could either get round your jacket and it flashed like red when you were recording or green when you weren't recording. So you could see it nice and easily. You could Velcro it to any part of your bike. It was brilliant. And they asked me to be an ambassador for them. I was like, absolutely. He said, we're bringing out the 4K version of the camera. I thought, happy days, stabilization, 60 frames per second at 1080. I was like, brilliant. This is what we need. This is going back years. And it was utter dog shit. They changed it so you couldn't plug the mic straight in the camera. You had to use an adapter. It was full of loads of issues with firmware. And then they just died after that. They just totally died. It was like, well, you were so close.
I was just about to ask you whatever happened to them then, because that sounds amazing up until they released that one. But that was the nail in the coffin for them, was it? They changed hands a couple of times, and I think they've pretty much just gone obsolete now because the cameras are dog shit and nobody buys them anymore, which is such a shame. Yeah.
Right. Dave, that is 2 hours, mate. We still got questions on Facebook, but my dog is going crazy. You're going to want to go and get your curry. So maybe we'll do a part 2, or we'll just carry this on when we meet up and ride in Ireland.
Totally up for that. I look forward to seeing you next year, Bruce. Thanks to everybody for sending in the questions as well. I really enjoyed answering them. It's quite nice once in a while to get my brain into gear and to actually think. And I certainly did that over the last 2 hours. So thanks a million for having me on as well, Bruce. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel as though I've had a night out in the pub with you, of course. It's great crack.
No worries at all, mate. Before we go, is there anything you feel free to plug your channel or, say hellos, whatever you want to do, just fire over to you.
I think anybody tuning into this possibly knows of my channel anyway, but I'll give you my very famous out, which is, thanks for watching. I'm Dave Perry, Wheelie Good TV, over and out.
Right, folks, check out the show notes. If you're listening to the podcast, look at the show notes. If you're watching the video, make sure you check out the vid description. I'll leave all Dave's links to his socials and his YouTube channel, everything down there. Make sure you give him a follow, a like, a subscribe, all of the above. All right, folks, keep doing your thing. Keep looking after those that you love. Get on out there whenever you can and live your life. Woo-ha!
Hear, hear.